Yo, champion making, welcome to the channel. I'm Josh Diamond and I've been competing in the Pokemon VGC circuit for roughly 8 years, going to about 1 to 3 regionals per year with varying results. I'm a 2-time regional Day 2 player in the Scarlet and Violet era of VGC, and I wanted to share some of the theory I've learned over the years and help players develop and understand their voice in the game and how to most effectively use their voice by focusing on strong principles in their team building and battles. This introduces my beginner to master theory speedrun, where I take a fresh Pokemon Champions account from Pokeball to Master Ball tier and try to pick the best Pokemon and strategies I can find along the way that could help a new player have a good idea of things they should be looking for. This is less about showcasing specific teams and more about showing the team development process and how to apply these strong principles as you battle, identifying potential weaknesses, and adapting your team and play for future battles. This is the first team I've created using just a handful of Pokemon from the recruitment ranch and the victory points you can get after accepting rewards from tutorials and login bonuses. Your team doesn't have to be perfect before you theoretically test. That is an important thing to remember, and so these are just some of the first ideas I've had that can be strong, and we will be focusing on adapting the teams as we go and again picking up strong Pokemon from the recruitment ranch. Today's focus was on speed control and using a strategy that VGC players call Disquake, which is using Earthquake next to an electric type Pokemon that uses Discharge. Hitting both of your opponent's Pokemon on the other side of the field is a really powerful strategy in VGC. You want to get the health down. You want to set up situations where maybe you've dealt enough damage so that if you have speed control, you can come in with something and clean up in the back. So common leads, Garchomp and Rotom, Garchomp and Aerodactyl. I can Earthquake next to both of them. I can go for Rock Slides and Discharges and Electro Webs to make sure that I'm moving first. Speed control is a very, very important aspect of VGC. Obviously, it's not everything. Not every team needs speed control, but it is one of the most effective ways as you get started to learn the game. Setting up a Tailwind or a Trick Room or using Electro Webs, Icy Winds, those types of moves to lower the speed on your opponent's side of the field are some of the best ways to make sure that if you're moving first, you're applying pressure, you're in control of the battle. So that is what this team focused on. Let's talk a little bit more about the type synergy and choices that I tried to find and the reasons that I put these items on my Pokemon. Aerodactyl was one of the first mega options that I had available, and this was actually a little before Aerodactyl picked up quite a bit in the meta, so you'll see that Aerodactyl is a pretty popular Focus Sash user right now, but I decided to use the mega version because I wanted to really focus on speed for this team, to show that speed is very important, and Mega Aerodactyl is the fastest Pokemon in the game. So we can set up our fastest Tailwind, we can Rock Slide before the other Aerodactyls and Mega Pokemon, and we can then use that speed to, again, do big damage with Rock Slides, Earthquakes, Discharges. I've talked about Garchomp and Rotom. I put the Choice Scarf on Rotom, which gives it a speed boost, but locks it into the first move that you click for the period that it's on the field. This is very powerful to use with moves that can pivot you out, so you can come in later in the battle and use a different move. So Volt Switch lets you pivot out. Discharge does damage to every Pokemon on the field, including your partner, which again is why it's strong to pair with a ground type like Garchomp. Electro Web gives that speed control we talked about. I popped the Focus Sash on King Gambit because there's a lot of fighting type users with close combat that can, knock it out in one hit. So even though I've trained it to be a little bulky, I can swap over to the stats page for a little bit. I did put that Focus Sash on there again early in the game. These are some of the best items in the game to give me insurance in a worst case scenario if I lead into a fighting type. I put Primarina on because I did want some more special damage. We have a lot of physical attackers on this team, and having some water damage and fairy damage felt good. to apply pressure to dragon types and opposing fire types. Again, Hyper Voice and Dazzling Gleam hit both of my opponent's opposing Pokemon. And then I wanted to have a little support. My team was looking kind of weak to ice types. Aerodactyl with its flying type, Garchomp very weak to ice types with dragon and ground, and then Rotom with its grass typing. I felt a little weak to ice types, so Primarina and Arcanine, kind of the backbone of my team to have a switch in for ice type users and to apply super effective damage. In Arcanine's case, having a little priority, again focusing on moving first. That's why I popped the extreme speed on Arcanine. And again, there's just a lot of physical attackers in the beginning of this Champions meta, so I put Will-O-Wisps to burn them. Protect on all my Pokemon except the Rotom Choice Scarf, because Protect is one of the most powerful moves in the game in VGC. It's the backbone of why VGC even works, because you can Protect, Pivot, stall out turns of Trick Room, Tailwind, Protect to keep one of your Pokemon safe from a threat and attack it with your other Pokemon. There's lots of reasons why Protect is strong, and I encourage you to use it on as many Pokemon as you can justify. And yeah, with that, we'll hop into the battles that I did. Let me know what your favorite Mega Pokemon is. There are so many cool ones. Again, on my opponent's team alone, there's a potential Mega Gengar, Mega Aggron, Mega Beedrill. All of those are so cool. Now, they have potential. Gengar Palafin feels like a pretty powerful lead in general. I've theoried that because Gengar can trap you on the field. Palafin needs to switch out to activate its ability. So you can kind of get pinned. Like, think about this. You can pin someone to end the game with Palafin beating things really well if you pair it with a Gengar. You can see what your opponent's lead, switch out into the Pokemon that resist them the best, or that can take out the threat to Palafin if it's in the lead. You focus that down super hard, and then your Palafin can come back in the end game with its 0 to hero form. Okay, so cool thing about Aerodactyl is it's fast, and it does a lot of damage to Beedrill, who is also fast. They've got a Hydreigon. We have some good fairy damage, so I do like the idea of Primarina. Primarina is a little soft to a Garchomp or to a Gengar, and potentially the Beedrill, so I don't want to lead it. I want to get it in a position. Again, I'm going to go with these same four. The Primarina can take care of the Hydreigon, give me Palafin resist. Rotom also get into Palafin. I timed out, but my Pokemon were selected, so it went through. I ran Gengar for the Shadow Tag, but he hasn't seen much use lately. The thing about Gengar is it is widely accepted as like top 3 from most players. It's a top 3 Mega Evolution in the game, so a lot of teams right now are hard focusing like being good into Gengar. That doesn't change that it's good, but I can see why your Gengar might be having a tough time. So they did just lead their Sylveon Beedrill. They're threatening a lot of damage on our Garchomp. So here I actually just want to go for the Mega Evolution and Rock Slide. A Rock Slide Earthquake wouldn't knock out the Sylveon, but this is a good opportunity to get some chip damage on Sylveon and potentially get a Rock Slide Earthquake KO next turn. And their Beedrill is extremely threatened. The defense stat on that thing is just so low. You've been running Mega Glimora and Mega Starmie. Starmie. You can tell I'm Skarmory brained right now. Mega Starmie. Mega Gengar might be a good Pokemon to get a 2 Megas, dual Mega team. So we just outspeed, 1-hit KO that Beedrill, being weak to rock moves. Get some good chip on that Sylveon. Again, 1 Earthquake wouldn't knock out the Sylveon from this range. If it didn't flinch there, it would have gotten a good Hyper Voice off. However, now I'm thinking that it will be in range of a Rock Slide Earthquake. I don't think... Again, I'm trying to play optimally. The Gengar could Icy Wind me and Hyper Voice, and so I think I would rather let my Garchomp go down in that scenario and have some speed control for the back line and just get some parting super effective damage off on the Gengar instead of going just for Rock Slide, because my Aerodactyl is faster than both of these, but my Garchomp is potentially slower than a Mega Gengar or a Gengar or a Scarf Gengar. Those are all options, all opportunities that my opponent could go for. So we're just going to go for the Tailwind Earthquake. Maybe it's like a Sash Destiny Bond Gengar, but no. We are able to take out both of our opponent's Pokemon, and again, because of that Rock Slide chip, it actually does look like it does look like the Sylveon was in range of the Earthquake. And Palafin in the back. We love the strategies. Again, most likely a bot match, but we'll be getting real opponents quite soon here. We'll just dual wing the Earthquake. Oh, we're disabled because of the Gengar's cursed body. Alright. Jet Punch, that will do a decent amount, but because it's in its baby form, it does not do even that. The dual wing beat Dragon Claw should be more than enough to KO this Palafin, and we'll go up to the next rank. 2 win streak, undefeated, beginner to master. So we're seeing these patterns. Aerodactyl, Garchomp seem to be a very popular lead. They cover for each other's weaknesses really well, and speed is king. Getting up speed control, being faster, moving first is very important in Pokemon. It's one of the best ways to win and one of the best habits to develop. How to best set up your speed control, how to stagger your speed control so you have an advantage when maybe your opponent's Tailwind runs out, but you still have a turn of yours, or they set up Tailwind but you Icy Wind, and now they've wasted a turn setting up Tailwind while you did some damage and still got some speed control for your Scarf Pokemon to outspeed. Okay, next battle. Opponent has 4 potential Megas: Kangaskhan, Meowstic, Starmie, and Dragonite. So if they lead Kang Fake Out into me, what could they do? That they could bulk up on their Starmie, they could set up a Tailwind on their Dragonite, they could set up a Trick Room with their Meowstic, and try to sweep me in Trick Room with an Araquanid. They could Wide Guard Araquanid. I think this is a good opportunity to lead Rotom. They have a few things that are weak to Electric, and I do still like the idea of Garchomp. Primarina still looks strong into the Dragon types, and good old Aerodactyl for the end game. So this time we're going to go for an early game chip and a late game Tailwind approach if my opponent is able to get through the lead. Ba-boom. Starmie and Samurott. So they led both Pokemon weak to my Rotom. We can Discharge and Earthquake. We could Electro Web and Earthquake. We could get some speed control. We could Discharge and Protect so that I don't get hit by like an Ice move from that Starmie and my Garchomp. If they double target my Rotom, I can bring in my Aerodactyl, Tailwind, and Earthquake next turn. So I like the idea of just going for a Discharge and protecting, because worst case scenario, if they take out Rotom, then I'm in a position to pin them and knock out both of their Pokemon. Starmie does go for that Mega, getting the huge power. So it does gain some speed. It should be faster than my Garchomp if it's trained correctly. So I do really like this play of Protect, and my Choice Scarf will allow me to outspeed both of my opponent's Pokemon, even if that's a Scarf Samurott. My Rotom is max speed, timid, and yeah, we do about half to each of them. The Samurott could live one more potentially. Looks like it rolled a little low. And they went for a Surf. They did some damage to their own Samurott, so this Protect doing numbers Oh, and it's double surf. My opponent has found the surf button in the team builder, and thinking that hitting themselves with the surf is not that big of a deal. Maybe they don't recognize that surf is a full field target move, or maybe they do recognize that and think that taking the water damage isn't that big of a deal. However, it did enough to where I am confident this discharge will knock out both of my opponent's Pokemon faster than both of them with the Choice Scarf. So I'll go for an Earthquake in case they try to switch around. If anything in the back tries to come in, I will be taking a lot of damage, unless it's that flyer like Dragonite, in which case I just broke its multi-scale and I can Dragonfly it next turn. Great. So Discharge takes out both of my opponent's Pokemon. Mega Starmie, I'm so sorry. You're so cool and purple and legs, but you're not here anymore. So the Garchomp's Earthquake just whiffs into everything. This is a popular strategy known as Disquake, going for Discharge next to a ground type, and going for Earthquake next to a Levitator or Flying type. In the past VGC formats, this has been popular. Oh, yo, Saturn VA, I missed your follow a few minutes ago. Sorry, I've got a lot going on. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. If you're liking what you're seeing. Okay, so they have potential to fake out both of my Pokemon here. Neither of these Pokemon can Mega because they went for the Mega with their Skarmory. I'm not too concerned with what they fake out. I don't think it's worth protecting on my Garchomp, because if they call that, fake out my Rotom, and Psychic my Rotom, I would much rather hit them with an Earthquake. If they fake out my Garchomp, they take some Rough Skin Chip. I'm willing to take that trade. They don't go for fake out with either. The Discharge gets a Paralysis on the Kangaskhan, so that lowers its speed by half, or its speed is cut in half. And Earthquake does a good chunk of damage, but doesn't quite get the knockout. We see the item on the Citrus Berry. Y'all good, just enjoying hearing the thought process. That's what I'm going for. Just doing good commentary. And that special defense drop doesn't even matter on our Garchomp because of our Widerb. Widerb is a good item, even if they don't have Intimidate, just for those random, defense drops, special defense drops that can come as secondary effects to Psychic moves. Discharge Earthquake at this point will finish my opponent off. Yeah, based on the damage we're doing. We're faster than them. Again, speed is king. I can't emphasize that enough. Kangaskhan lives on 1, but the Earthquake will take it off. It is important to remember that Pokemon is all about exerting pressure. And the easiest way to exert pressure is with priority moves like Sucker Punch and with faster Pokemon. And that's why speed control is so important, because if you've established the board position, you're in the driver's seat. You're in control of how the game is going and the pace of it. If your opponent says, "Oh, they can outspeed me and hit me with a super effective move right now," I need to do something. And you, as the person with that offensive pressure, can then start to make reads when you need to. You can make better plays knowing that they have to play defensively. You can say, okay, if they play defensive, this pins them in the best opportunity for a better turn 2, for example, if we're talking about turn 1. Okay, now we've got another thing. Think of the potential megas. Always think of the potential megas, especially if they have more than one opportunity. This trainer can do Mega Aggron, Mega Garchomp, Mega Feraligatr, or Mega Meganium. They could wide guard me with the Avalugg. They can't set Trick Room with any of these things. They do have some slow Pokemon, so it's important to notice. 40 points off now. When we battle, we are doing singles or double battles. And are you fine on this Fire main? I'm good with either one. I only can do VGC battles when you get there. For now, maybe I'll build up some singles in the future. Let's see. So I like the idea because they can't outspeed any of my guys. Let's go Rotom Primarina. Let's bring our Garchomp, and I do think Aerodactyl is good for the late game Meganium. Aerodactyl isn't great against the rest of them, but I think it's a little better than King Gambit in this scenario. Okay. Polion and Avalon. Okay, so they could wide guard. It's also important to know which defense stats. I believe this was in the tutorial of the game. Avalug has a lot of high defense, but low special defense. So I did lead with my special attackers. I do like the idea of Volt switching out onto that Empoleon. And, well, actually, I don't want to take an Ice move on either of the guys in my backline, so I'm actually going to go for a Leaf Storm onto the Avalug and go for a Hyper Voice. Again, if they wide guard, it will just block my Primarina. If they don't wide guard and they live on one with their Sturdy ability, then our Primarina will pick it off with its subsequent Hyper Voice. So strong single target damage paired with some double target damage is a good way to pick off low HP targets. We do see that we are faster than their Empoleon with our Primarina. We do lower our special attack, but important to note that we did not take ice damage on our Ice Weak Pokemon in the back. Now, the Empoleon sets up Snowscape, which tells me that my opponent wants to use Blizzard. Now, they bring in Feraligatr, which could Mega. Now, do I need to reset my special attack? Or I'm actually fine just doubling into the Feraligatr with Leaf Storm and Dazzling Gleam. The super effective damage should offset my special attack drop pretty good, and if they Mega, they will take super effective damage from this Dazzling Gleam. We're chipping away at that Empoleon. It's not really threatening either of my Pokemon, so I don't mind if it's sitting on the field while I focus the target that does threaten my backline more. Empoleon, I can always come in and Earthquake with my Garchomp, so it's not the primary threat. We go for the Leaf Storm, does a lot of the damage because it's super effective even though we're at -2. Now we're at -4. They go for that Ice Beam. Does a good chunk, a little over half, but our Rotom has done its job. The big Dazzling Gleam should take out Feraligatr from its range, and we've got some good chip on that Empoleon so that it should be in range of an Earthquake if they ever do knock out one of my Pokemon. And if this triple axle lands all 3 hits, yep, they were able to knock out one of my Pokemon. Okay, so let's think about what their last Pokemon could be. When the screen comes up, we're communicating, still communicating, still communicating. My opponent doesn't know what decisions to make. Or maybe they went idle because they got upset. I don't really know the signs of rage bait, or not rage bait, of rage quitting in this game yet. I'm like, is this one of them? I don't know. They're just sitting there. Okay, we got through. We're to the screen. Maybe my internet's terrible. Okay, so in the back they could have Aggron, Garchomp, or Meganium. They haven't Mega'd yet, so I am assuming it's not going to be... I guess all 3 of those could be... This game communicates more than any of my exes. Yo, why you gotta do them like that? Alright, so let's bring in our Garchomp. We can threaten their Garchomp or and their Empoleon. If they're Meganium in the back, it's good to, you know, get out of the way. That knowledge. You know, our Aerodactyl can clean up. Oh, man. Communicating. We're gonna be a communicating stream. Okay, so there is the Meganium. I don't mind just going for... the Meganium threatens both of my Pokemon. I don't mind just going for the Earthquake, get the Empoleon off the field, and just protecting. That will let my Aerodactyl come in if they are able to take out my Garchomp and still have a piece on the board. I think they're more likely to go after the Primarina with a Mega Solar Beam. If they do go for a Dazzling Gleam, there's a good chance we live on our Garchomp because it's a spread move. However, it is a Mega Meganium, and that thing has special attack through the roof, so I also wouldn't be surprised if it did knock us out, but again, that lets Aerodactyl come in and get through the end game. My opponent may just being idle and letting the timer run out on every turn because we gained such a lead in the early game. The opposing player has been idle too long, so we do see that I was correct there. Dragon Tamer, Creative Kid. 4-win streak. We got to Pokeball Tier 2. We are going to keep climbing. Earn some VP. I think we get higher VP rewards as our win streak goes up, so let's try to keep that win streak going. And the good news is we're fighting real people now. You know, if they're sitting idle, on the other hand, throwing their Switch against the wall, that means it's a real person and not a bot that we're beating. So we're beating real people. These are real teams with real ideas. And we're gaining some VP. Again, might be able to train up that Arcanine soon. I don't know. Also might be worth noticing what is scary against our team to make adjustments. So far, I was like, okay, that Mega Meganium potential actually did kind of feel good against my team. So training up a Fire type does feel like it's in my best interest. So that makes me confident that I am making some good team decisions. Opponent has Archaladon, Sneasler, Skeledirge, Decidueye, Gyarados, and Aegislash. They don't have many options for speed control. They do have some options for setup. They can intimidate me, so I want to lead with a special attacker potentially, or my King Gambit, but the King Gambit is a little weak to that Sneasler, a little soft. Again, we've got our Focus Sash, but I don't threaten enough Pokemon to maybe make it worth in the lead. However, I am looking at the Skeledirge and Aegislash, and now I'm reconsidering. I think I want to lead Aerodactyl, King Gambit, if they do lead Mega Gyarados, and then have these two guys in the back. Aerodactyl covers King Gambit's weaknesses pretty well. Gotta make sure we have stuff for the Archaladon. Whew. Okay. And let's see how we can fare. Okay, so they do lead the Sneasler Gyarados into our Aerodactyl and our King Gambit. So they activate our Defiant. I think that they might want to either Dragon Dance here or do some damage to my Aerodactyl. Now they can only fake out one of these Pokemon. And if they do Dragon Dance or knock out my Aerodactyl, I do have my Scarf Rotom in the back. So that's another thing to think of. If my opponent knocks me out, what can I bring in and what does that board state look like? So I'm going to go for my Mega. I'm going to go for a Dual Wing Beat into Sneasler, and I'm going to go for a Kowtow Cleave into the Gyarados. Now, this means that one of my opponent's Pokemon is taking big damage this turn. Now it could be a Mega Gyarados, and they could resist my Kowtow Cleave. That is entirely possible. However, they do not. They do not even go for the Fake Out. We connect Dual Wing Beat, so the Sneasler will go down through a potential Focus Sash, and we're going to get huge damage onto this Gyarados as well, because they did give us that Defiant activation. Waterfall will do a lot to Aerodactyl, and we'll just cleanly take the knockout, actually. That's why Sash Aerodactyl is pretty popular, because, wow, I'm a little surprised that it just went down, but it is frail. It is Rock type. But yeah, this lets our Rotom come in, and now we can Electro Web, lower the speed of our opponent's Pokemon, and do big damage with our Defiant boost. So Gyarados, extremely threatened here. I'm going to go for the Electro Web. We still have our Focus Sash intact. And we're going to go for a big Kowtow Cleave into the Archaludon. Now, the Electro Web will activate their stamina. I'm not super concerned. They can't... I don't think they have enough pressure on the Archaludon to knock out either of my Pokemon. Again, they can't knock out my Kingambit, even if they had Body Press, but Archaludon doesn't get Body Press in this game anymore. So let's see, we lower their speed, we do raise their defense with stamina, so our Kowtow Cleave will be doing a little less, but because of our attack boost, this is essentially a neutral Kowtow Cleave. Okay, the Archaludon's getting scary, but we do have Garchomp in the back to hit it with, what's it called? Earthquake. So we can focus down that Skeledirge, because Garchomp should win the end game. So I'm going to Electro Web, Kowtow Cleave, the Skeledirge, again, just ignoring the Archaludon. It set up a Stealth Rock. You will see that Stealth Rock, these are not hard and fast rules, but I am just I really want to focus on the theory of the game. Stealth Rock and Entry Hazards, in general, aren't the best strategy to go for in doubles, because the games are much more fast-paced than singles. A lot of times, doubles games, like a typical doubles game, will go, 8 to 10 turns, and that's a long one. Excuse me. Okay, Citrus Berry Archaludon. It's gonna take a minute to chunk through this thing, but I think we can do it. Skeledirge goes down, so it's a 1v3. Now it is a super boosted, Dragon Tail into the Kingambit. That's actually best case scenario, because now we get our Garchomp in 4-3. Yo, Matty Boy, redeeming the battle me, best of one. Let's do it right after this battle. If you've got a VGC team, we can totally do that. We're locked into Electro Web, so I'm just gonna go for it, and Earthquake. We probably won't KO, but again, we're doing enough damage that eventually we're gonna get through that Archaludon.
Okay, so we've got 3-4. We've got a lot of potential megas. Frostlass, Starmie, Dragonite, and Tyranitar are all potential megas. Whimsicott can set up a priority Tailwind. Incineroar can intimidate me. Okay, so I like Aerodactyl, Kingambit. I really like these guys. I like Rotom. Garchomp is kind of a hard sell for me, but it does hit a lot of those Pokemon. The thing is, getting speed control is going to be a battle here. But if we can get speed control, Garchomp is good enough. I'm scared of that ice damage, but hopefully we can deal with the Frostlass in the early game. This team is looking tough. They have all the tools that they need to beat me, but can they? Can they still do it? Aerodactyl, Kingambit. So the Sandstorm does give our Aerodactyl a, what's it called? special defense boost because we're a rock type. I'm going to go ahead, go straight for the Mega Evolution. Go for, they could Tailwind Rock Slide. Do I want it? Does delaying Tailwind and Iron Heading the Tyranitar give me anything? Am I able to delay if they come in with like Frostlass? I think it's in my best interest to try to get up a Tailwind. I should live a Rock Slide, barely, but I should live a Rock Slide. So I'm going to go for a Tailwind and go for an Iron Head into the Tyranitar. I can outspeed the Whimsicott next turn and hit them with a dual Wing Beat. They could potentially Encore me into Tailwind. So another play I could go for next turn is to protect my Aerodactyl and Iron Head the Whimsicott if I'm expecting an Encore. They go for a Prankster Tailwind. But even then, I don't know if that will be enough to let the Tyranitar... Oh, they go for a Dragon Dance! I was going to say, I don't know if that will be enough to let the Tyranitar outspeed me, but it was. And they're going for a huge Dragon Dance. So hopefully this Iron Head doesn't quite knock them out. Okay, we could go for a Sucker Punch. The Whimsicott is buffeted by the Sandstorm. Now they could... They could go for an Encore into my Aerodactyl. Now, the problem is they could... Well, they probably don't have a fighting move if they're Dragon Dancing. They're probably Rock, Dark, Protect, Dragon Dance. So we have a Focus Sash. I'm going to go ahead and protect my Mega Aerodactyl. Well, you know what? I'm going to force them to use Encore if they have it. I think it's in my best interest to just go for a Sucker Punch on the Tyranitar and get a knockout on the Whimsicott if I can. If they did Encore me, then it nullifies the turn a little bit. I didn't want to land in a position where they Whimsicott Moonblasted me and had a fighting move on their Tyranitar. And it did work out for the best. They didn't go for an Encore. Best check for Mega Floette is honestly Corviknight. Yep. Iron Head and Sneasler. Yeah, Sneasler's a great one. Sneasler, Corviknight. Yo, Maddie Fuse, thank you so much for the follow. A lot of Maddies in here today. I love it. Okay, and there's Frostlass. That's going to be their Mega. We still have... We're faster than them on both with Aerodactyl, and we still have Speed Control with... Or, sorry. And we still have our Focus Sash intact. That's what I'm going for. They could Blizzard me and go for a fighting move into... How many turns of Tailwind left? 2 turns of Tailwind for both of us. Yeah, I should win this with Rotom in the back. So I am just going to go for a Rock Slide. I'm trying to decide if Sucker or Kowtow is better. I'm going to go for the Kowtow. This could backfire, but it means they don't get up an Aurora Veil, which I'm more worried about. And if we connect on both with Rock Slide, now they will overwrite the Sand with their Snow. Oh, we miss the Dragonite with Rock Slide. That's worse. That's not great. The Rock Slide still does a lot without... okay. And we flinch them, so it doesn't even matter. And they do have the superpower. So they would have been able to knock out my King Gambit if they went for a... what's the word I'm going for here? Blizzard here, but then they wouldn't have Aurora Veil up next turn when I come in and I go for my Electro Web. But Kowtow Cleave does just knock out the Frostlass because we had our Focus Sash. Again, Rock Sliding with Speed Control, you don't always flinch them, but sometimes you do flinch them. And even though I feel like we were in a winning position, the flinches made us win harder. There can only be one Maddie. We must fight to the death. So, yep, Rock Slide and Tailwind. Flinch City gains us some great wins. We're on a 6-win streak. We hit Great Ball rank 4 for this first stream of our beginner to master speedrun.